My name is Ray Greenberg. I'm the president of the Medical University of South Carolina, and I am delighted to welcome all of you here this morning. In the 14 years I've been at the Medical University, I would say this morning may be among, if not the most important day in that entire period of time, because it is something that we have been working hard for more than 15 years to try to accomplish, and are pleased to be able to announce that accomplishment today. Let me say that the opportunity to create for the citizens of South Carolina a nationally recognized resource for treating patients with cancer has been a goal of the Medical University of South Carolina since President Jim Edwards was president, and he and Senator Hollings together decided that bringing National Cancer Institute designation to this institution was going to be a primary goal of their leadership terms. And they both worked very, very hard to make this happen. Probably the first step in that process was obtaining what's referred to as a planning grant, and it's been more than a decade since that planning grant was received. And I can tell you a lot of planning went on between then and now. But it really was the vision of our administrative leadership and our political leadership to bring to this state, and in fact it goes beyond the state, it's the region. If you look at National Cancer Institute designated centers, there are several in the Research Triangle area of North Carolina, there's one in Nashville, Tennessee, there's one in Birmingham, Alabama, there's one in Tampa, Florida, but there's a lot of geography beyond the state of South Carolina that this center now becomes an important resource for serving. And so it is beyond the citizens of South Carolina, but with particular emphasis on the citizens of South Carolina, that this designation has been achieved. It is a very, very difficult process to be recognized. It's a competitive, peer-reviewed process. The people that come review the center are distinguished cancer researchers and clinicians from already designated centers, and they don't like the pie to be cut into too many more slices, so they're very, very tough in the review process. It is almost unheard of to be awarded this designation on the first attempt. And that happened in this case. And furthermore, we beat out other distinguished institutions on this cycle, including Emory University, the University of Miami, the University of Maryland. There was very, very tough competition for this designation, and I think it is a tribute to the quality of leadership and the quality of research and clinical care that's provided at the Hollings Cancer Center that we could be victorious in this round of applications.
I really do want to, in all seriousness, let people in South Carolina know how big a deal this is. I, like many people here, have had my heart broken by cancer. I lost my mother. It's the second leading cause of death in South Carolina is cancer. And the war against cancer is turned our way by this designation. We'll be able to serve people in South Carolina in a way unknown before. This could be $55 to $69 million impact on the state of South Carolina. The Cancer Center was a vision of Senator Hollings, who's been affected by this disease. A long time ago, he had this vision. I served as his junior senator for 2 years. I spent most of my time interpreting what he was saying to other senators, mostly Democrats. But I came to know him, and quite frankly, love him. He's been very helpful to me in my political career, and we talked about this a lot before he left the Senate. And I made a promise to him. I promised to do what I could to make sure that we take it to the next level. And from a guy who made a D in science, I'm not going to explain to you what this means scientifically, but we've gone to the major leagues. South Carolina is now in the major leagues of cancer research. And what a compliment to the board members. Our First Lady is on the board. Her family's been affected by cancer. But the team here at the Hollings Cancer Center were recognized by people throughout the country, and we achieved the highest score for a first-time applicant in the history of the program. Now that says it all. So we're blessed with some of the most talented people in the nation here at the Hollings Cancer Center, now National Cancer Institute. And the work that goes on here is going to change lives, save lives, and improve the quality of life. What better investment can you make? What better use of taxpayer dollars than to create a center like this that will help people who are very low and will save some lives?
Jerry Reeves would remember Colonel Wiles at the Citadel. We had an English major course, and the colonel had this poem by Richard Lovelace to the effect that to Althea from prison, and I can't remember the entire poem, but the end of it was, stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. You can ride by and you can tell that from the building that we've got one of the finest facilities for cancer in the country. But very few people realize that we had the finest of medicine, doctors and staff here. And that's what I really wanted to say this morning. I want to congratulate and thank Dr. Andrew Kraft and the outstanding staff that he's got here in getting that highest grade that Lindsey talked about. Dr. Greenberg and Dean Reeves, Leighton McCurdy, Jim Edwards, if he's around, he could come. Early on helped out. They've been loyal and consistent and constant in their support. Our friend Melvin Berlinski kept reminding me how much we needed over here from the board. It was a team effort all the way around. Lindsey Graham just took over, and any question about that, and he's made a wonderful bipartisan impression in Washington. I go out early on Sunday to play tennis. I used to watch Meet the Press, but he's always on there, and I know what he's going to say. But he has been a wonderful help. Our friend Henry Brown, the congressman, he started when he was in the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee for the medical university and its development and everything else like that. He's brought very valuable equipment and done everything possible to support it and what have you. But I think that the real credit goes to Dr. Kraft. We lucky to have him, and lucky to have Carolyn Reed. She was the interim director. That gal was the first woman chair of thoracic oncology surgeons in America. AMD Anderson tried to get her, but we kept her here for less money. So she's really dedicated. Carolyn, you headed us in the state direction and made this a state facility. That's the important thing, that we made it a state facility. Jenny Sanford has had fundraisers and everything else at the governor's mansion and taken over a leadership position, our first lady. So all of help, but the real credit and luck that we have is to have Andrew Kraft. I'll tell you right now, he correlated the team and the talent and everything else like that and disciplined them and made that presentation, and that's why it's gotten the highest grade ever. Of course, we all knew it, but now the National Cancer Institute has designated this cancer center as among the best in the nation.
It's a special day for not just Charleston, but all of South Carolina and the region, like Senator Hollings said. Some 23,000 people expected to contact cancer this year, and based on the other many thousands that already have it, it's being treated here. Dr. Kraft, I certainly would like to congratulate you and your staff. And I know that I've said this before, but South Carolina, and particularly in this Charleston region, people love to come to South Carolina and love to come to Charleston. And Charleston is noted for its good restaurants and its good beaches and the good, historical settings and the friendly population. But, Senator, because of you and because of Lindsey and Dr. Kraft and Dr. Greenberg and others, This area is getting to be known as the place to come if you have a serious illness. And I bless you for that, and because we have a lot of people that are looking for help. And Dr. Greenberg, too, they can come even if they don't have the resources to pay. And I think that's pretty special on your part. It's a pleasure to be able to serve up in Washington and serve along with Lindsey and others up there to try to get things done. And that's what it's about. I know you hear a lot of bickering on TV about how things aren't working, but a lot of things do work, and this is symbolic of that example.
I'm here really to say thank you from what I would call a more personal standpoint. For many of you who know or don't know, I am not from South Carolina. I was raised in a very large family in Illinois, and my family has a very high incidence of cancer, and so high, in fact, that we've been researched for years and years for genes or other things that impact our lives. And while I'm not here to go into all of that, I do want to touch on one member of my family that has been touched by cancer for a long time, and that's my mom, Susan Sullivan. My mom's had cancer since I was a little girl, and so I've known from a very early age how important it is to get good care and to have access to the best, what I would call the best in care and treatment. In 1989, when Mark and I were engaged to be married, my mom had what I would call a significant metastases, and it kind of changed the future of the course of her life. And she was told basically at that time by her doctor that unless she got into a very good experimental or alternative treatment program, she would in all likelihood be dead in 2 years. And so that was really all she needed to launch her on her quest for what she called the best for what she had at the time. 1 Corinthians 9 talks of running a race such that you will obtain a prize. And it basically speaks about the importance of competing with passion, fighting with a purpose, and mastering the flesh or disciplining one's body. Well, that pretty much typifies what my mother did at the time. She said, I'm going to look for the best. And she called, she begged, she pleaded, she traveled around the country. And as luck would have it, she got herself into a treatment program that was, I think, going to begin maybe a week or two after we got married. So 20 years ago, my mom, right after our wedding, 20 years ago, 1989, she enrolled in a test program at National Cancer Institute in Bethesda, Maryland. And to this day, she lives. And to this day, for about the last 15 or 16 years, she's the only one in her test program at NCI that lives, which really says something. So I have a personal intimacy with NCI and a great respect for the institution and for the promise it holds for the future for many people here in South Carolina. My mother's taught me a number of important things in her 3.5 decades long fight with cancer. Number one, cancer is multi-causal. There are a number of different things, obviously, that set it on its course. Likewise, the key to survival often includes a number of different things. In my mother's case, strong faith, a very positive mental attitude, a fighting spirit, early detection, which does matter, and of course the best in treatment and care. And these things work together and they collaborate to help save lives. In the same manner, I think the NCI designation is important for the same thing. It will allow Hollings Cancer Center and a host of hospitals across the state, which is very important, to work together with better resources and better research to impact the lives in our state and to continue in our fight against cancer. It will provide us the opportunity to discover better treatments and cures for a host of cancers, but also to learn more about what causes cancers, to learn more from our disparities, which are significant, and together to help save more lives in our state. The chances are significant that either I or one or more of our boys will in fact face a very serious fight with cancer, as my mother continues to face today. And I'm here today to say thank you personally, because the chances are great now that we won't have to travel out of state to get what I would consider the best of care. And that's very important from a personal matter, so I say thank you. I applaud the incredible and collaborative effort that brought us here today on this occasion, but I would remind you that this war on cancer it has a long road ahead of us. As it says in Hebrews 12:1, let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. We have the opportunity to continue to strengthen, I believe, our collaboration and to do the most we can with the limited resources we have. Hollings Cancer is a small institution in a small state, but I believe it's an institution that has a lot of heart. It serves a rapidly growing population, and it's doing so with more insight and more collaboration and more forward thinking than most larger institutions that I've seen or known in my time. I charge you all to keep the faith as we ramp up our efforts in this fight against cancer and as we continue to run this race with patience, with endurance, and with a sight toward winning.
When we had the NCI here, we had 25 of the best scientists in the country here to evaluate us. And I was sitting on the side of the room, and I had to convince myself that we were going to succeed here in South Carolina. So I wrote myself a little note, which I've cleaned up a bit, but I want to share with you in any event. And it says, "Bring it home." And I think that's what we've clearly been able to do. We've been able to bring NCI designation to the state of South Carolina. In order to do that, we had to have a clear team effort. So I want to thank Dr. Greenberg and the senior staff in their help in making this happen. Senators Hollings and Graham, we couldn't have done it without you. Representative Brown has been extremely supportive. Jenny Sanford is a member of our board. She's outspoken, she's supportive, and she obviously knows what cancer is all about. Clearly, there were many others who impacted on our ability to get NCI designation. We have 100 researchers in the Hollings Cancer Center that made this designation possible. We have 8 senior staff, associate professors who made this event possible. And I just want to mention Anita Harrison, who's here in the audience, our associate for administration, who put in an application second to none. I stand on the back, although she doesn't often allow me to do it, on Carolyn Reed's back, because she was the person that made this physical facility and our clinical trials effort highly successful, and I could not have done this really without her. We have 77 employees in the Hollings Cancer Center. Many of them are devoted to making sure that the clinical trials that we carry out are successful, that we've dotted all those I's and T's they like to see in Washington, and they've enabled us to treat patients with novel agents. And I want to applaud those 77 employees. Again, without their help, we could not have reached NCI designation. The Hollings Cancer Center has 3 voluntary boards. Those boards, the individuals contribute their time, they contribute their funds, they help reach out to the community and explain exactly what we're doing, and I could not have been successful without them, and many of them are in the audience today. Finally, I want to thank a special group of people, and that is the patients in the Hollings Cancer Center that went on clinical trials. Without patients going on in clinical trials, the NCI would not have designated us. And clearly these are individuals who are ill, some are elderly, they are clearly worried about how many days they have left, and yet they're willing to take part in a scientific experiment to try to find a better therapy. These are true heroes. They're heroes of our community, and I really want to thank them for making NCI designation possible. For many years, coming here, people would stop me in the hall and say, when does the application go in? In fact, the senator once said he'd write it for me if I didn't get going on it. So, Senator, I did get it in finally. After we got the application in, I was often stopped and people would say, well, when are we going to hear? Is it next month, next week? I would get many calls a day about that. Finally, we've heard, and we are NCI designated. Now people are stopping me in the hall to say, now what exactly does NCI designation mean? I want to borrow the metaphor from our First Lady. NCI designation's clearly about running a race, as she's already mentioned. It is not about climbing a mountain, Mount Everest, reaching the top and doing a few high fives and coming down again. It is not that. It clearly is a first step, this NCI designation. It's the first mile. What the NCI is doing is they're standing at this first mile that South Carolina has reached, and they're giving us funding and their designation to push us forward to that second mile. 26 miles is where the cure lies. That's what we all hope to obtain. We will obtain that cure in South Carolina. The NCI would like to see us reach mile 2, which is comprehensive status. And comprehensive status is when our programs are much improved beyond what they are currently, when we reach out to the state with prevention and control, mechanisms to prevent cancer rather than treat it. That's what comprehensive status means. Obtaining comprehensive status puts us in the top 40 NCI designated cancer centers in this state. Clearly, we don't have to think about being 49th in anything. We're going to be in the top 40 if we can reach comprehensive status. In order to do that, I'll need the support of all those sitting in the front row. I need you to, what does the sign say? Bring it home, comprehensive status. I cannot do it without you. One thing I did upon coming to South Carolina was build an affiliate clinical trials network. We have strong affiliates in Myrtle Beach and Hilton Head. We have 8 other institutions that have joined us in clinical trials. Clinical trials is how we're going to cure this disease. It is my hope that with NCI designation, we will be able to bring the Hollings clinical trials to every single person in the state of South Carolina in collaboration with all of our outstanding physicians who are currently in the community. We look forward to doing that. We look forward to our success in the future. I would ask you all to help me bring it home. Thank you very much.